Welcome back to the top 5 craziest ER stories, and this is story number 4. Alright, so specifically today, it was a quiet day in the emergency room, and I pick up a patient that chief complaint says, foreign body in me. I was like, okay, this could be literally anything. So I go into the room, she's sitting there very anxious in a frantic state, and her husband is right next to her. And she goes, I think I'm losing my mind. I took a SoulCycle class this morning. I did not have my FitBit watch on, but the calories were still counted on my app. And I don't know where it is. I thought it was in my clothing. I checked, I completely took my outfit off, sports bra, everything, and I couldn't find my FitBit. So I just don't understand, how did it mark all of my calories without it on my body? So I'm listening to her, and I actually don't know what to think at this point. I'm like, she sounds pretty reasonable of a human being that wouldn't be making this up. But at the same time, how could that be possible? So she continues to say how she had a very busy morning, and every morning she takes her medication with coffee. And specifically this morning, she took it down and didn't even think of it. I'm like, okay, cool, great. Good piece of information. So I started thinking, and I figured, well, if the Fitbit is not on her, then it could technically be inside her, but that's just crazy. But you have to rule it out, right? And maybe at the end of the day, there was just a glitch to the Fitbit, and it was counting the calories just sitting and lost on the floor in the closet or something. So I just did an abdominal x-ray to rule it out and to show her that she's not crazy and the Fitbit is not inside her. Well, to our surprise, this is what the x-rays show. At this point, I'm like losing my mind. I'm like, there's no way this Fitbit got inside her. That thing is pretty big. If you swallowed it, you would have known. It's not like a standard pill. So I pulled her aside and asked her husband to step out of the room and asked her, okay, there is a Fitbit inside of you. Do you by any chance know how it got inside? And she's just beyond herself. She has no clue how it got in. I further have to get more studies to see exactly where it is. So this is where I move forward to a CAT scan. And the CAT scan showed that it was 3 centimeters up her rectum into her sigmoid colon. So now I'm starting to do the timetable. I'm like, okay, if this happened this morning, it's about roughly noon. Very tough for it to go through your mouth all the way down through your GI tract into your sigmoid colon in a couple of hours. So then I start to think, was it implanted inside of her? So then I start asking questions. Do you and your husband get into certain activities? You can kind of guess what I'm asking for. Or maybe she's a very heavy sleeper and her husband thought it would be a joke to, sorry, I can't even say it, to stick it up her rectum as a April Fool's joke. I don't know. I'm asking her and she's denying everything. She's still beyond belief that it's inside of her. Luckily, I called the surgical team and told them the situation, and based on the actual size of the Fitbit and the rounded corners, there's no risk of perforation of the bowels. So it more or less was a waiting game until she poops it out. So I go back and tell her and explain the situation and say, you know, by the end of the day, you'll probably poop it out and you'll be okay. So long story short, she's getting discharged and she turns around right before she leaves and she goes, Sam, do I need to be admitted to the psychiatric unit? And I was like, no, like you're fine. Like if this happens again and again, yes, possibly I would recommend a psychiatric evaluation. But at this point, let's just call this a glitch, a one-off, something that we're just gonna say, yeah, it happened, we're not sure, but you know, we move on with life. Until this day, we do not know how that Fitbit got inside of her. However, kudos to Fitbit for being able to count calories and track your steps inside your GI system, so bravo. So thank you guys for tuning in, and the stories are just gonna get juicy and juicier each week. Stay tuned for number 3 next week. If you enjoyed this story, had a little laugh, feel free to subscribe, share with a friend, spread the wealth. Anyways, I'll see you guys next week.